Okay. So Chanelle, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview. I'm so grateful. Everything that's going on, we both everything is a little frazzled right now. So
A lot frazzled.
okay. Okay. And I can't even imagine having not older kids, because your kids are still pretty young, but like school age kids. Like I have a
My son's school age.
Okay.
My son is 7 and my daughter is 4. So
okay.
Surviving.
All right. Well, I just want to jump right in then. So to start, can you share a little bit about what you do? And then I just want to kind of take a step back and go and take a deep dive into kind of like your journey and how you got started, and how you got to where you are today.
Okay. Well, I started off with children. It all started with children. My whole life, I've always been around little people, teaching them, playing with them, mentoring them. I've always found myself doing that. My mom, she was a single mom, so it started with me caring for my younger 2 siblings. And from there, it progressed to me being the neighborhood babysitter.
Okay.
Girl, I was babysitting everybody's kids. It was like Chanelle's day camp sometimes. To me becoming a camp counselor, and I was a Sunday school teacher. And when I left middle school, I went to a vocational high school, Camden County Technical Schools, Pennsauken campus. I went there for allied health. It was nice. I mean, it was great, but I just knew the medical field was not my thing. That's just not where I really wanted to go. So went to my prayer closet. I prayed about it, and I just felt like I was being led to become a teacher. So I actually was able to go to Camden County College on a full scholarship. At the time, it was the NJ Star Scholarship. I'm not really sure if it still exists today, but back in 2004, when I graduated from high school, it did. So I went to Camden County College for 2 years on a full scholarship. When I was finished there, I transferred to Rowan, where I went on a full scholarship as well.
Awesome.
For elementary education and writing arts. Loved it. Did my student teaching self through it. Everything was amazing. Mm-hmm. And then I got my first teaching position.
Ooh.
So
I say that because I taught for 5 years in Baltimore City, and I have some thoughts, but keep going.
Well, my first teaching position was in my hometown of Camden, New Jersey.
Okay.
It was my neighborhood, my hood, my people, and I'm just, I'm like excited because of course, when you grow up in the inner city, your ultimate goal is always to leave, make yourself better, and come back to help everyone else, sure. Which is what I wanted to do. Got a position, I taught 4th grade inclusion, and well, what you learn in college about teaching is very different once you get into the classroom. Mm-hmm. My students, they were amazing. I loved each and every one of them. I worked with their parents very well, but it was everything outside of my classroom that didn't agree with my soul. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of things that were going on I didn't feel as though were in the best interest of my students and their learning. I taught for 2 years. Within that time, I got married, and my husband and I decided to start a family. So my 2nd year of teaching was actually my last year of teaching. Okay. Not only because we started a family, but because they had a reduction in force, or a RIF. So I was fired. But, all things work out according to God's timing. So I was able to, slide right into becoming a stay-at-home mom from there. I've been a stay-at-home mom. My son will be 8 in June. Okay. I've done some little odds and ends jobs, in between to keep me sharp and, not so bored. And also because I like Starbucks and shoes. So, I want to buy those things. And then within these last couple of years, after I had my daughter, I realized I was on a timeline now until I was actually going to return back to the workforce. Mm-hmm. My husband he works at a job where his schedule isn't fluid. So I knew going back into the workforce, I needed to find a job that would meet our needs as a family.
Sure.
So I needed some flexibility. Through my breastfeeding journey with my son and my daughter, I learned a lot about breastfeeding. I learned a lot about, the ins and outs of it, how to's, the what not to do's, which led to me becoming kind of like the breastfeeding unicorn in my circle.
Right.
Everybody started coming to me for advice about breastfeeding, and I was just like, okay, this is nice, different. One day, one of my friends, she came to me and she was like, Chanelle, you just need to be a titty tech. Girl, I need to be what? She was like, you need to be a titty tech.
That is awesome.
And I was like, please, first of all, I don't think that's a thing. And she was like, it has to be a thing, and if it's not, make it your thing, because that's how she talks to me. She pushes me, make it a thing if it's not a thing.
Sure.
So I went back into my prayer closet, and lo and behold, we found out that a titty tech is actually called a lactation consultant.
Okay.
So I did some research, ignored it, like, nope, not doing this. And when God tells you to do something, He gonna keep burning bushes until you do it, and that's what happened. So I went back and looked at what the requirements were and saw that I met most of them. I sat down with some local consultants, and that's how my lactation consultant journey started.
Wow. That is amazing. And I love that phrase, titty tech, and you need to make that on a shirt or like something. That's awesome. That is amazing. Oh my goodness.
She still calls me that. Like, she will tell her friend, my friend, she's a titty tech. She calls them Shanice. That's not what it is that I do. You're a titty tech. Okay, all right. And I just go with it.
Yeah.
Titty tech.
That is amazing. Oh my goodness. Well, can you take us back to kind of the days and weeks leading up to the birth of your first child? Like, what was your birth plan like, and what were you looking for in that kind of ideal birth experience?
Well, I am an overpacker, over-preparer. Okay. So if I'm going away for a weekend, I have an outfit for the hot, the cold, the wet, the dry.
Same.
I had, 20 pairs of underwear, because for some reason in 2 days, that's how many pairs of underwear I can wear. You never know. So, it was no different when my husband and I were preparing for our son. We took a labor basis class. We took a breastfeeding class. I took prenatal yoga. I was up and down the internet. We bought the what to expect when you're expecting. I had the birth planner. Like, we were just as overly prepared for our son as possible. None of it mattered. Okay. I was diagnosed with gestational diabetes at the 28-week point of my pregnancy. It was diet controlled. Still had to prick my finger every day, 4 times a day, leading up to the birth of our son. He was actually overdue by a week, at which point I was induced in the hospital. Leading up to the induction, we had an opportunity to watch the documentary, The Business of Being Born, as well as a whole lot of other movies as well. But that one is actually what helped me to change my birth plan, to be more educated about what I was now facing. Because of course my plan was, I just wanted to see what my body was able to do. Now, hard stop. I get a paper cut, I'm ready to die. Take me, Jesus. Like, no, please, I can't take it. So, when I was first telling everybody I'm going natural, it was like, we'll see.
Okay.
And so I had to be induced. I went into the hospital at 7 p.m. on June 6th. I was admitted and everything. I was given IV fluids. I was given, I don't remember the name of the medication, but it's actually one that takes longer to help you dilate. And
not
it was
Pitocin?
Not Pitocin. It's something to help your everything open up and thin out.
Okay.
And so that was actually the first time I realized how much I had to advocate for myself during pregnancy. Because when I told the doctors that I wanted this other medicine, it was, well, that's really going to take a long time for you to dilate compared to, we can just give you this one and it'll make the process faster. And I said, well, I've heard that this one has a higher rate of complications, so I would rather go with the other one. Oh, well, if this complication happens, we have this medication for this and that medication for that. And I was like, yeah, no, thank you. I do have great insurance, but I'm not trying to use it all up right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have time. I've been pregnant for 41 weeks. Like, what's another couple of hours?
Right.
I was given that. It took 12 hours for me to dilate to 4 centimeters.
Okay.
At which point I was given, beforehand, I was given morphine to kind of help with the pain.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I was dilated the next day, 12 hours later, exactly 7 a.m.,
wow.
I was given Pitocin to help dilate even more. I labored in bed the entire time.
Okay.
My water didn't break, but I was progressing. Maybe it was actually a half an hour before I pushed, which was 12 hours later.
Okay.
I requested an epidural because I wasn't able to get any rest in between contractions. And I just told my husband, like, I'm so tired. And my mom, she was there. She was there as well. And, you know, she's trying to do the mom thing, but she's also a nurse. So it was like Clash of the Titans in like her head. And I had to keep telling her, Mom, I don't need a nurse. I need you to be mom right now.
Right.
But eventually I was given the epidural, which didn't even have time to take because it was time for me to push shortly after.
Okay.
My son was born at, I believe, 7:35 p.m.
Okay. Wow.
Somewhere in that time frame, he was born healthy and everything. It took a little while to initiate breastfeeding with him, though, because I experienced the postpartum complication from the epidural. And from being given so many fluids, I had lots of swelling everywhere, which was not conducive to breastfeeding.
Yeah. Okay. But wow. Okay. So just to recap then, you said that you gave birth, the birth was fine, but postpartum, because of all the fluids, the initiating breastfeeding with your son, you had difficulty with it.
Yes.
Okay.
So even when I was in a hospital, unfortunately, the lactation consultant wasn't exactly as helpful as I would have wanted her to be at the time. So I came home with a nipple shield and formula. That's how my breastfeeding, a nipple shield, formula, and a breast pump that I had no idea what to do with it, and a gut-wrenching, head-splitting headache because I experienced the spinal headache from the epidural. And so I did get, it's called like a blood patch where they take blood out of your arm and put it like in your back.
Wow.
I got it done. But the first time I got it done, it failed. Okay. So when I came home, I had to actually wind up going back to the hospital to get it done again.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that how a doctor or medical team would treat that condition with the blood patch?
There are, from what I understand, there are a couple of ways that they treat it. One is they just let it work itself out.
Okay.
If it's not too severe. In my case, I wasn't able to be under any bright lights at all, and I couldn't sit up at all. And now I'm going home with a newborn. So I opted to have the blood patch done, which they said they will only do it twice. After that, I would just have to let it heal on its own because of the risk of infection from them, poking the needle in the same space over and over again.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, it's one of those very rare side effects that you don't really hear too much about. And when they do mention it, they kind of gloss over it. I think it's maybe like 0.01% of people actually get it.
Okay.
I was that person.
Oh man. Okay. Wow. I'm sure that made your postpartum period, just like kind of transitioning to that a bit difficult then. Like, how did you manage?
My husband.
Okay.
Having a partner that was just as dedicated to helping me meet my breastfeeding goals as I was definitely helped. One thing that we say a lot is that breastfeeding works best with support, and it does, especially in situations where, you know, the birthing parent is coming home not 100%. I was maybe operating at 35%.
Okay.
You know, you have a newborn, you know, I didn't understand how to get him onto my breast to breastfeed. I wasn't shown how to actually do the procedure necessary to get my nipples to not be flat and to revert so that he could latch on. It was just a whole lot of problem solving at the start. And then to have formula in my home, which was given to me, you know, of course, my baby has to eat. I get that part. But that wasn't the plan. The plan wasn't formula. And so to know that, okay, I have these breasts, there's milk in here, and there's this can of formula sitting right here, just like, you can just use me. I'm easy. And, you know, I was just really determined. Like, I didn't want that. I wanted to breastfeed. And so through the grace of Google and God, I figured it out with the breast pump, you know, how to use it, how to get the milk out, you know, subsequently how to feed my son. And everything just kind of shook itself out in the wash, as they say.
Sure. Wow. Okay. Okay. So I want to kind of shift gears a little bit and ask kind of, because you mentioned, you know, breastfeeding being, it being really important to have support in your breastfeeding journey as a mother. And so what advice would you give other women who find themselves in a position where they want to breastfeed, but they may not have the support or someone, you know, really being supportive of that choice, or, you know, they may just have people around them who either aren't as educated around breastfeeding, or just, you know, because their mom formula fed them and their siblings, like they that's all they know, and so they really don't understand why a woman would like put herself through the struggle of like trying to breastfeed when formula is right there. Like, what advice do you give you know, a woman who may not have had that support?
Well, my first piece of advice is go to a prenatal breastfeeding class. That is step one. It's almost like before you get your driver's license, you take driver's ed courses, you get your permit, you practice. Right. A prenatal breastfeeding class is basically the same thing. There is a wealth of information to know before that baby is on your chest. For example, just how milk is like actually made, from how to get the baby on once the baby's first born, when breastfeeding hurts, what to do.
Okay.
Day 3 and 4 postpartum, when you go from A's to double D's, like how to navigate. Yes, it's like, you know, these are things that people don't generally talk about, but these things happen. And so it's always good to know beforehand what to expect. So when things do start to go left, you know. Also, going to those prenatal breastfeeding classes also gives you really a very important person on your support team from that point forward. And that is the lactation person who's actually teaching the class. I hosted a class a couple weeks ago, and that was one of the things I told everyone who was present. Hi, I'm Chanelle. I'm a certified breastfeeding specialist, and I am now in your back pocket as a part of your support team, so that when things aren't quite going so well, or even when they are going great, you know, you have somebody that you can talk to about those things. My second piece of advice would be to find you at least one person who is going to be with you to support you, whether it's your mom, your dad, your best friend, a really good coworker, a cousin, a hairstylist, somebody.
Certainly.
Somebody who is just going to encourage you and, have those conversations to say, listen, this is something new and I just need your support. Like the same way if I was starting a brand new job or I was moving to a brand new city, I just need somebody to be able to talk to.
Right.
Luckily, with the advent of social media, there are no shortages of support groups that are available. So I would recommend them as well. I'm in a support group for future IBCLCs of color, and one of my very best colleagues I met in that group. So you can also find your best friend in a support group. You just never know.
Certainly. Yeah. I mean, that's so funny that you mentioned social media, because it was a huge tool for me, like in my postpartum journey, because I just came home and I was completely clueless. I went to a breastfeeding course, but like I never got the impression from the person who was leading it that they were on my team. Like it was more like that was my professor or like my teacher, and like that was it. Like this is one course and then that's it. So I think it's amazing that you put that out there, at the course that you were leading. Like, hey, like I'm leading this course and now I'm in your back pocket, as a resource. That's awesome. Okay, great. So what is an IBLCL? Wait. This is International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. Okay, so what is that? Okay.
Okay, so
I can't read today.
It's a lot of letters. It is. Listen.
Oh my God.
So an IBCLC, or an Internationally Board Certified Lactation Consultant, is the top tier credential for lactation support.
Okay.
That is a person who is able to help with all infant feeding issues. Now, this also includes, a lot of people don't realize, they also work with babies who are formula fed, because they can also have feeding issues,
Okay.
As far as, oral anatomy or, muscle issues, things like that. IBCLCs can also help and, get you the proper help with those issues as well. So an IBCLC is someone who has completed a certain amount of general education courses. We have maths, research, of course, biologies, anatomies, and things like that, as well as 90 hours of lactation specific education, and also some form of hands-on training. So whether it's through a community group like WIC or La Leche League, or they are already a medical person like a nurse or a doctor, or in my case, I'm coming from a totally different world in which I have to do 500 hours of mentoring with someone who's already certified.
Okay.
So once you meet all of those criteria, then you sit for the international exam. And so once you pass, you are certified to be able to help families to meet their infant feeding goals. But in between having nothing and having the IBCLC, there's also different lower level supporters also. Through my training so far, I'm qualified as a certified breastfeeding specialist, which means I help families with their infant feeding goals as well. Only difference is I don't touch boobs or babies because it's not within my scope of practice. So.
Okay. So why is having a lactation consultant important? And what should some women, specifically women of color and Black women, look for in a lactation consultant?
To answer your first question, when you have menstrual cramps that you just want to die from, where do you go?
To your OBGYN or your yeah.
If you stub your foot, you're going to go to a podiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
If you keep sneezing because you're allergic to air, you're going to go to an allergist.
Certainly.
when you are having troubles with breastfeeding, you go to a lactation consultant, because that is what they are trained. I'm going to say we, because I'm going to be here soon. Because that is what we deal with specifically. That's the area in which we've been trained. There are a lot of, doctors that you and your baby will see, a pediatrician, your OBGYN, and whomever else. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to breastfeeding, the only person that can help you best with that journey is someone who is an IBCLC. Mm-hmm. We are the people that navigate that specialty. For women of color specifically, it's important to see an IBCLC when you're having breastfeeding issues, because our goal is to help you meet your goal. Okay. Which is, as far as support goes for, Black women, we have the lowest rate of breastfeeding in the country. Mm-hmm. And we also have the highest rate of mortality for moms and babies as well. Mm-hmm. So, we do understand that there's a lot that we're battling in our breastfeeding journey, including the historical context of breastfeeding going back to slavery and wet nursing, as well as, socially, where our bodies just don't belong to us and breasts are not for babies, they're for men for some reason, so we're battling a lot. So when you're looking for an IBCLC, the first thing you want is someone that is culturally competent. Okay. Meaning they understand that you are a Black woman, and that a lot of, what you're dealing with is framed by you being a Black woman. Mm-hmm. A lot of people like to skate around that. Right. I am who I am, and by saying I'm colorblind, you are ignoring a very essential part of who I am. Absolutely. And there's a lot of support that has to start with you being a Black woman. Right now in 2020, as Black women, we have a lot going on right now. Mm-hmm. Outside of this new pandemic, we don't feel safe in our homes anymore. We don't feel safe leaving outside our front doors. When our men and boys leave, we're praying every day that, they're coming back to us. That's wearing and tearing on us every single day. Mm-hmm. So you have to find, doctors who and practitioners who are able to see how those everyday things impact something as important as breastfeeding as well. Certainly. So you definitely want to find you someone who is culturally competent, and you can pretty much figure that out within the first 5-10 minutes of talking to somebody, if they really understand you and who you are as a whole person. Mm-hmm. You definitely want to be sure that you find someone who agrees with what your goals are. Sure. It's not about us. It's about the parents. It's about the families. It's about the babies. It doesn't matter, what I think is the ideal breastfeeding situation. My job is to support you. So it's definitely good to, tell someone, these are my goals. And, if they start to hesitate or, they're trying to push you away from that goal, that's not the person for you, So those things I think are very important in finding someone that's going to work for you. That's awesome. I appreciate it. Thank you. I think a lot of times, what happened with me is that they just gave me a number and said, if you have trouble, here's the number to the lactation consultant. And I called and made an appointment, and the woman was nice enough, but I had 2 sessions with her, and the first session was a very long session, and she was very helpful. And the baby latched, but then I couldn't replicate what she did in the office at my house. And so then I'm figuring it out. I have this plastic breast shield, and I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with it. And I just, and having to, the thought of having to nurse every 2 hours, because at this point my infant was just eating every 2 hours, just around the clock, and I was just I don't know, this is not
like what I signed up for. You know, and I told her, I was like, hey, you know, this isn't sustainable. And she was very understanding. But then after that second appointment, it was just like, okay, well, I'm just going to figure this out on my own. So, you know, it wasn't, I don't know, it wasn't as like a fulfilling, it wasn't a negative experience necessarily. It just wasn't as fulfilling of an experience as I would have hoped it was going to be. I don't know.
I think too, a big part of being an IBCLC, apart from the clinical part, the biggest part to me is the counseling part. Okay. Because you have to talk to people. You know, right. It is amazing that we learn all these different things about, you know, how the breasts work and how the oral anatomy works. That's amazing. But if you can't make that family feel confident and competent in what you're teaching them to do, then have you really done your job? You know?
Right.
And, again, that goes back to me saying to make sure that, you know, the IBCLC that you're seeing knows how to help you meet your goals. And that one of their questions to you should be, what are your goals? What do you want breastfeeding to look like for you? You know, breastfeeding is not all or nothing. You don't have to give breast milk 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's okay to supplement if that's what you want to do. If you want to use a breast pump, because I pump with my son and my daughter, because pumping is breastfeeding. Pumping is breastfeeding. I just say it again. Pumping is breastfeeding.
Yes,
you know, it is. If that's what you want to do, you know, that they're able to support you and to help you. The key word is support. That's my job, to support.
I know a lot of women describe their breastfeeding journey, and it's different for every woman. I think sometimes women, you know, a lot of times women say like they loved it, like it was an amazing experience. Me, you know, I did not have an amazing experience. It was not fun. You know, and we're still like weaning-ish, like he's sort of weaned. Okay. But like, you know, he still nurses sometimes, but we're almost done. He's 19 months, so it's just like it's time. I'm over it. You know, but I just wanted to ask, like, for the moms out there who may be expecting, you know, when you're first starting out, like, what does breastfeeding feel like?
What does breastfeeding feel like when you're first starting out? It feels like someone's sucking on your nipples.
Yeah.
There are so many different ways to describe it, both the emotional, the physical, and the mental. In those first couple of days postpartum. You know, firstly is the mental part. You know, you just gave birth to an entire human being. And, you know, whatever your labor situations was, you know, a lot of moms have to recover from childbirth, unfortunately.
Certainly.
We all don't come out, you know, smelling like roses at the very end. So just combating and wading through those mental issues and trying to bond with your baby, and then to adjust to the fact that now this baby is here. So you went from being a pregnant person to a real life mom. Like, you are mom, and you're real life responsible for this little wrinkled human being over there on that bed warmer. You know, it's very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Which, you know, goes into your emotional state with, you know, your hormones balancing out, trying to make sense of what just occurred, your body trying to recover from being pregnant, giving birth, and then the physical of it, you know, having a baby on your breast. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but most people haven't had someone suck on their nipples for that extended amount of time so frequently.
Yeah.
I know it's very intense, and I know for me, and, you know, many breastfeeding moms can probably co-sign with this as well. There's this moment of being touched out.
Yes.
Where when you have the baby on your breast and you're just like, this is enough. You know, this person is just on my body, touching my body, and you just want it to stop. It does happen. So in those first, and these things happen within those first couple of days postpartum because it's all brand new. And you know, and then unfortunately, in the US, you know, we don't really have that type of support all the time that allows mom just to stay in bed and do nothing else but nurse. You know, some of us are coming home, we have other children, we still have households. And, you know, I know of moms who go back to work 2 weeks postpartum.
Right.
So, you know, all that combined, you know, breastfeeding in the beginning can be very overwhelming because you're really trying to, my best friend, she just wrote a blog on my website, and the title of it is Building a Plane While Flying It. And that is exactly what breastfeeding is in those first couple of days postpartum. You are building a plane while flying it.
Oh my gosh, that is so accurate. Like, definitely. I definitely feel that. Felt that right here. Yeah, it's really intense. I mean, I don't know. I did not like it. But you know, we're still going strong. Not strong, but you know, like he's weaned-ish. That's what I say.
And I think the thing about it is too, so many people are afraid to say this. Not everybody's going to like it. Sometimes it really is just, I know this is best for my baby, so that's why I'm doing it, but I really don't like it. And guess what? That's okay.
Yes.
It does not have to be sunshine and roses for everybody. Listen, I don't like spinach, but I made it for dinner tonight, so guess what I gotta go do? I'ma still eat it, but do I like it? No. But I also, you know, like to have long hair and, you know, strong fingernails, so I'm gonna go eat spinach. I don't want to, but I'm gonna do it, you know. So, and it's, you know, a lot of people shy away from saying that, you know, not everybody is going to like it. You can still do it. I didn't like every part of breastfeeding. You know, the getting up in the middle of the night to pump, did not like it because if I missed the pump session, I was squirting milk across the room. Like, no. And then my daughter, she was more so fresh off the tap or put it back.
Okay.
So she always wanted to nurse. Like, even now, she's actually very, very attached.
Okay.
And so just like, oh, please get off of me. Honey, can you give her a bottle? She doesn't want a bottle. Please. I just, you know.
Yeah.
So, but those feelings are valid. It is okay not to like it. It is okay to just want it to stop. It is okay to feel your feelings. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. I feel like a lot of, like you said, a lot of women, well, a lot of times we don't talk about it, but then also, you know, because we're not talking about it, you might feel like there's a lot of shame behind not liking breastfeeding. It's just like, oh my gosh, like what kind of a mother doesn't want to feed their child, you know? Like I remember feeling like that, like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with me? And like, you know, it would have been nice at the time to like know, okay, well, these are normal things, these are normal feelings, and like to talk through it with somebody, you know. And so, but I appreciate you kind of touching on it because, you know, somebody out there hopefully will be able to get something from
it is totally okay. You know, I call it the struggle Olympics. Like everybody wants to weigh in on what somebody else is struggling on and who struggled more. And listen, I'm not in competition with no other mothers out there. I'm going to do what's best for me and my family within our, you know, corner of the world. And, you know, that's it. And if I don't like something, I did it. I didn't like it. I don't like spinach. I'm still eat it, but
right. Oh my gosh, yeah. I actually love spinach. But I did not like breastfeeding. And I still don't. But like I liked pumping even less. So I was just like, all right, I'll nurse before I pump, because I was just like, this is for the birds. I cannot do this.
I get it. But what's what's most important is for you to still be empowered of how you were still able to overcome what you didn't necessarily like so much, to be able to still do what's best for your baby.
Right.
And in the grand scheme of things, I think as parents, we often face those choices. You know, I may not necessarily like this, but I know it's a means to an end. I don't want to send my baby to kindergarten in September because that's my baby, but guess what? She has to go.
Right.
She has to go be around some other people and learn, and you know, mama has to get another job so she can buy more Starbucks and shoes. So
right.
You know, but you know, you being able to go for 19 months is absolutely amazing. And in your dislike of it, it makes it even more amazing because you were able to provide something for your child that can never be duplicated no matter what anyone else says. And the bond that you two probably have is just amazing. So I take my hat off to you for continuing it for as long as you did, because I know 19 months he's definitely doing some Olympics where he's nursing upside down, right side up.
Oh my God.
Pulling moves out in Target, Walmart, just total disrespectfulness. So, so congratulations. You're doing an amazing job. Amazing.
Thank you. Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. It was a struggle for sure, but I'm definitely, like, when I think back, I'm just like, man, I cannot believe I made it this far, because it was rough. Okay, so my last sort of like larger question was, what advice do you have for women who need to go back to work before 12 weeks, like how to navigate pumping and just advocating for themselves in terms of just at their workspace and like a clean, comfortable pumping space? Do lactation consultants help women kind of make a plan for that, and how does that work?
So again, I always say before the baby arrives, right? We kind of start putting these things into place because we want to leave as much time for the unknowns to navigate them than to have our parents panic at the very last moment because they have to go back to work. So when you find yourself, you know, needing to go back to work, I would recommend contacting a lactation professional at least when you're about 8 weeks out. If you can't do it before you go on leave, definitely at least 8 weeks out. Because you want to give yourself time as well as your employer time to make the necessary accommodations. Most states here in the U.S. do have laws in place that protect breastfeeding parents in the workplace. I know specifically in New Jersey, your employer has to provide you with time to pump or express milk, as well as a clean private place that is not a bathroom.
Okay.
Now, how that happens and how it works out as far as, you know, your work schedule does, that's something that you really have to sit with your manager, your boss, human resources to figure out. Again, that's why I say at least 8 weeks out, because it gives them time. Because legally, they have to give it to you. They don't have to pay you for those breaks, but they have to give you time to do it. And so, you know, everybody's break time is going to look different. The teacher, the break time is going to look different than someone who works at Wendy's, than someone who is a waitress at Friendly's, and someone who is a CEO at a Fortune 500 company. You know, all those breaks are going to look different. But going in, you know, and also many employers, they want to work with you because you're a valuable asset to their team. So give them that time. As far as the parent, you know, preparing themselves to go back, you know, it's around that time when you first, if you weren't using a pump beforehand, that's when you want to start learning how to use a pump. The hows, the whens, the whys to pump, it's definitely good. Again, you know, 8 to 12 weeks out to start, you know, pumping and introducing the bottle for the first time, if that's what you're doing. So everything is really just giving yourself time, because there is an adjustment period for everyone. Your baby's going from a soft, cushy nipple to a more firm nipple on the bottle, as well as having someone else possibly feed them. You know, you are now expressing breast milk without your baby being present. So all those things is a learning curve. It just takes time. So the more time you give yourself, the smoother the transition. And in any event, contact a lactation professional.
Yes. All right. Okay. So then my last few questions are just kind of like quick questions, if you will. So my first kind of quick question is, what are your favorite ways to practice self-care and self-keeping as a mom?
My favorite way to practice self-care is to lock myself in my room and binge watch The Office all day long. That is my thing. That is my thing that helps me keep my sanity. It's just really just having time to veg out and not think about anything. I have tried going to the spa, getting manicures. I've tried all those things, but the problem at hand is I can't turn my brain off. So even while I'm trying to do those things, I'm thinking about everything that I have to do afterwards.
Yeah.
I lock myself in my bedroom. I watch The Office. All I am focused on is Bears, Beats, and Battlestar Galactica. That's it.
Yes. Okay. Awesome. I love The Office. That is one of the shows that I come back to again and again. Like, I can binge watch it from like any episode. It's fine.
Yep.
Like the one show. Okay. And so then, if you could sum up your journey to motherhood in 6 words, what would they be?
6 words. It's gonna be interesting.
Like it.
That is the put it. My son is 7. My daughter is 4. They are night and day.
Okay.
There's nothing similar about them whatsoever. And so when I had my daughter, I had to learn how to be a mom all over again. It was like I before. So it's gonna be interesting.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's the end of the interview. And I just appreciate it so much.